When Esau saw the messengers Jacob had sent, he wondered what was going on. For 20 years, he hadn't heard a word from Jacob. He didn't even know whether Jacob was alive or dead. So why was Jacob suddenly sending messengers now? What's he up to this time? What's he trying to get his hands on? Esau knew he had to be careful. Memories from long ago began flashing through Esau's mind. He remembered how Jacob had taken his birthright and stolen the blessing. For a long time, those memories had haunted him. After years of wandering, he had finally managed to put his life back together. And now, suddenly, Jacob was back in his life, stirring everything up. Old wounds that had long been buried began to ache again. The anger he thought had settled began to rise once more. Esau turned to Jacob's messengers. "Go back and tell your master that I am coming to meet him." Then Esau gathered his men and set out. 7 days later, Esau arrived near Jacob's camp. Tomorrow he would meet Jacob. He would finally get his chance to take revenge. Esau kept thinking about how he would make Jacob pay for what he had done. But for some reason, his heart was restless. That night, he couldn't sleep. Something was troubling him. "Jacob, how did we ever become enemies? After all these years, the anger is still here. What am I supposed to do with it? Forgive you? How could I?" The next morning, Esau quickly set out. As Esau approached the Jabbok River, he saw Jacob's servants driving herds of animals toward him. Among them was one of the messengers Jacob had sent to him earlier in Seir. Esau asked him, "Where is Jacob?" "That man coming behind us, that's your brother." Esau looked where the servant was pointing. Far in the distance, he saw a man walking toward him. As he came closer, Esau could see him more clearly, but something was wrong. He was dressed in tattered clothes and looked terribly haggard. Leaning on a staff, he limped with every step. Esau could hardly believe that this was Jacob. He had expected to see Jacob dressed in fine clothes, surrounded by strong servants, walking toward him with his head held high. But instead, Jacob looked almost like a beggar. The closer Jacob came, Esau could see how terrible he looked. He was tumbling as though he might collapse at any moment. He was covered with dirt, and his face was streaked with sweat and dust. Through his tangled hair, his eyes burned with desperation. Esau couldn't understand it. What in the world happened to him? Why did he look like this? Another thought crossed Esau's mind. Could this be another one of his tricks? Still sitting on his camel, Esau stared at Jacob. The sight of Jacob seemed like a silent plea. "I did a terrible thing to you and ran away. Ever since I left you, my life has fallen apart just as you see me now. And now I am coming back to you. Please forgive me." As Jacob drew closer, he bowed to the ground 7 times before his brother. This was how a servant would bow before a king. Perhaps his bows were saying, "You are like a king to me, and I'm your servant. I want to make peace with you. Please accept me." Esau felt something stir inside him, compassion. "He's my brother. What good would it do to keep holding the past against him? Would getting even really make me feel any better?" Esau might have thought of himself as someone who stood up for the weak and the poor. So how could he possibly take out his anger on this broken and helpless man? How could he turn away his own brother who was pleading with him for mercy? Esau said to himself, "It's all in the past now. Let it go. Leave it all behind. That's the path I need to take." The anger that had burned inside him for so long slowly faded like the last embers of a fire. His eyes began to fill with tears. Esau jumped down from his camel and hurried toward Jacob. Genesis 33 verse 4 describes the moment powerfully. Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. This scene wasn't what Esau had planned, and it wasn't what Jacob had expected. They didn't need to say things like these: "I was wrong, please forgive me." "Now you finally realize what you did? Are you ever going to do that again?" They didn't need any of that. Their embrace said everything. This scene is strikingly similar to the father welcoming home his prodigal son in Luke 15 verse 20. His father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. After a while, Jacob introduced his family to Esau one by one. Last of all, Rachel and Joseph came forward and bowed before him. In the ancient Near East, people were sometimes presented according to rank, with the most important coming last. By presenting Rachel and Joseph last, it was almost as if Jacob were saying, "These are the ones most precious to me." Then Esau said, "What were those animals I came across along the way?" Jacob answered, "They were gifts for you, my lord. I sent them hoping you would accept me." Jacob still called Esau my lord. Face to face, he never once called Esau brother. Instead, he continued to call him my lord. In Genesis 33 verses 8 through 15 alone, Jacob addresses Esau my lord 5 times. Perhaps it troubled Esau to hear Jacob speak to him that way. "You're still afraid of me." Esau said, "My brother." Those 2 words said it all. "Don't be afraid of me. I'm your brother." At first, Esau refused Jacob's gifts. "My brother, I already have plenty. Keep what you have for yourself." Jacob urged him again. "No, please. If you're willing to accept me, please accept this gift from me." Then Jacob said something remarkable. "To see your face is like seeing the face of God." Isn't that an amazing thing to say? Jacob meant it from the heart. At that moment, Jacob could see God's grace at work through Esau. God had been at work in Esau's heart, leading him to forgive Jacob. Perhaps that's why Jacob said, "To see your face is like seeing the face of God." Esau said, "Let's travel together. I'll go ahead and lead the way." Esau wanted Jacob to go with him. He naturally assumed that Jacob would come along. But Jacob politely declined. "My lord, you know that the children are still young, and the animals have young ones to care for. If I push them too hard, they could die. Please go on ahead, my lord. I'll travel slowly and come to you in Seir." Perhaps what Jacob was really saying was this: "Thank you for forgiving me and accepting me. But maybe it's better for both of us if we don't live too close to each other." Instead of saying so directly, he was gently turning down his brother's offer. Esau might have felt a little hurt. He had hoped they could travel together and be close as brothers again. He wanted to make up for the years they had lost. Esau wondered, "Why is he turning me down? Is he still afraid of me? Is he worried that something might go wrong between us? Esau said, If that's what you want, then so be it. But let me leave some of my men with you. They can keep you safe along the way. But once again, Jacob turned down Esau's offer. There is no need, my lord. Your kindness is more than enough for me. Esau decided not to press the matter, and so the brothers parted ways. When Esau made his way back to Seir, there was a lingering sadness in his heart. He wanted to do something for the brother he had seen again after a long time. But there was nothing more he could do for his brother. The kindest thing he could do was give Jacob the space he wanted. As Esau reached a bend in the road, he stopped his camel for a moment and looked back. Jacob was still standing there, watching him leave. Esau raised his hand and waved. Jacob waved back. Then Jacob wiped the tears from his eyes. Esau's own vision began to blur. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. They had embraced and kissed. They had wept together. They had finally reconciled. And yet, years of distance between them couldn't be erased in a single moment. Perhaps they had been apart too long. Perhaps their hearts had grown apart as well. Esau wondered, could we ever be close again? You might have been wise to keep some distance between us. In the end, Esau had to go his way, and Jacob had to go his. The Jacob narrative in Genesis naturally centers on Jacob. It focuses on how God guided Jacob, how God changed Jacob, and how God fulfilled his plan through Jacob. Because Jacob stands at the center of the story, it's easy to overlook the other characters. That's simply the nature of a written story. Words on a page can never tell us everything, so we need to read between the lines of Scripture. In that sense, Esau's role in Genesis 33 shouldn't be overlooked. Esau had carried deep wounds for many years. One day, he was given the chance to get even. He could have taken revenge on Jacob, but he chose to forgive. His forgiveness allowed him to embrace the brother who had hurt him so deeply. Perhaps by forgiving Jacob, Esau was able to let go of the wounds that had haunted him for so many years. When we look at this story through the lens of forgiveness, it's not only Jacob's story, it's Esau's story too. Joseph's forgiveness of his brothers is perhaps the most moving story of forgiveness in Genesis, but Esau's forgiveness of Jacob belongs alongside it. Of course, God was at work through it all. He was working not only in Jacob's life, but in Esau's life as well. We too may carry wounds that are difficult to let go of. But when we open our hearts to God, He gives us the grace to forgive. And through that forgiveness, we can begin to let go of our wounds. May we open our hearts to God and become His instruments of forgiveness.